Man, my friend gave me this like selfie stick, so now I can get wider views using my phone. Look at the angle. Look at me from this side. Look at me from that side. Look at me from up here. Look at me from down there. So this morning, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been dealing with recently. I'm also in the middle of, about to begin eating breakfast. I got this bowl of fruits because I've been on a fruit fast recently, and I got a tall glass of water because I haven't been drinking enough water. But yeah, it's 8 a.m. or something like that. I don't know what time it is. I'm just gonna come sit in my garden and talk to you guys for a bit. So this is my bowl of fruits. I got pineapples, bananas, but it's not the regular bananas. It's the tiny bananas that are like this big and they're really good. And I have 2 mangoes that I left in the house. I'm about to go back for them. And of course, a tall glass of water. I might get a second one. So this is my breakfast. So there is this business opportunity that I've been thinking about for the past two or 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. And not only is it a good business opportunity, it's also an opportunity that could benefit and help others. Some really good friends of mine, as well as others that would be impacted by this particular opportunity. I'm at the point in my walk right now where I know enough to know that nothing is worth doing if the Most High is not a part of it. It's not even worth it. Even if you get ahead a little bit with it, in the end it won't be worth it. Nothing is worth doing if the Most High is not a part of it. So for me, I try to make sure that I include or invite the Most High into everything that I do. I seek His counsel. I seek His direction. I seek permission even, just to know that before I go and put my efforts towards something, that He will be with me in it. So seeing this business opportunity, I didn't say anything about it. I didn't even mention it to the people who I'd want to present it to. I just kept it to myself and I said, you know what, I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to ask the Most High if this is His will for me. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Nothing wrong with wanting to include the Most High in the things that you're doing. What I didn't realize was happening was that with these good intentions, I was talking myself into living in fear. I was essentially saying, I'm not doing anything unless the Most High directly tells me to do it. Like directly to my face, to my ears, to my heart, tells me, do this. Now, something I was talking to my girlfriend about was how this perspective could actually be contrary to what the Most High wants for us. Because we know that the Most High wants obedience, right? But I think because we often see the Most High through a lens of fear and anxiety and judgment, or even more, we see ourselves through a lens of self-doubt or self-condemnation or unworthiness, we have not grasped the love in the things that He asks of us. What I mean by that is this. Yes, the Most High has asked us and desires obedience of us. But if we only did the things He told us to because He told us to, then how much would that really be worth? Think about the difference between when you're cleaning your house or you're washing the dishes because you want to wash the dishes. And think about how much you can enjoy cleaning when you want to do it. You're cleaning up, you're listening to music, you're dancing, you're moving around, you're enjoying it, you're feeling accomplished, you're putting your hands to work. It's a whole process that you thoroughly enjoy. And at the end of the day, you clean everything thoroughly. You might spend 2-3 hours doing it because you're enjoying it. It's what you want to do. And you in yourself have the desire to see something accomplished to the fullest extent with which you know that you can accomplish it. Now think about when your mom asks you to wash the dishes, or when you're told to clean. Think about the completely different dynamic that exists in. Yeah, you might get it done, but it doesn't get done as well. It doesn't get done with the same attitude. You don't feel encouraged or purpose to do it, and afterwards, you don't feel any better. You don't feel accomplished. You just feel like you got something done that somebody told you to. And you just move on to whatever else you wanted to do anyways. Of those two scenarios, which do you think the Most High wants us to operate in when we are operating in obedience? See, the thing I'm realizing is that obedience is not just about following a grocery list. From what I understand, I believe the Most High not only wants us to obey, but wants us to understand why the things that He instructs us to do are directly beneficial for us. Even more than that, I believe He wants us to see the fruit in what being obedient to Him can produce. He wants us to feel the joy, the peace, the love, the happiness that comes from following His instructions, from doing His will. He doesn't want us to just do stuff because it's in a book and you see it in words and it says you should do it. No, He wants us to understand. And I think that's the difference between knowing and understanding. Knowing is just having it in your mind. Understanding is having it in your heart. And this is where I think Torah, His instructions, His teachings, not His law, because only the Greek has translated the word Torah as law, but the actual word Torah directly translates to His teachings, His instructions, like how a father teaches his child. A father doesn't give laws to his child. A father doesn't give legalism to his child. A father gives instructions to his child to raise them up so that they can enjoy a healthy and prosperous life. Prosperous not in the sense of physical things necessarily. Prosperous in the sense of on the inside. Values, principles, perspective. Prospering in those aspects. Teachings to encourage this child, to raise this child so that they can go out and be the light that He wants them to be. So this is where I think Torah is so beautiful, because I've been waiting 2 weeks for a feeling from the Most High, a feeling of assurance, or even just to know what His perspective is on this situation in regard to whether or not I should do it, when He already gave me His perspective. He said, I have given you these guidelines to live by. Observe them and go forth and live. And as I study Torah, I'm not an expert, but as I study Torah and I study the heart principles that His instructions were supposed to produce and are supposed to produce in us, I've realized that these are beautiful principles. He's saying, I don't want you stealing from other people. I don't want you envious of other people. I don't want you being selfish. I don't want you lying. I want you taking care of the poor. I want you taking care of the less fortunate. I want you to care for the people who you may consider enemies. I want you to reconcile with people who owe you. I want you to have mercy on people who are in positions of who are indebted to you. In the same way that I have exemplified these principles to you. I want you to replicate for others everything that I have shown you personally. I have shown you patience. I have shown you love. I have been understanding. So not only so it's not something that I just want you to read and follow. No, I want you to understand and live. This is a lifestyle. And I think it's so beautiful because for me right now, Torah is getting rid of so much of my anxiety. I'm not sitting here for 2 weeks thinking, what is God thinking? He's told me what He's thinking. All I want you to do, walk in my instructions. And it's a continuous process because He's the one who opens our eyes and opens our hearts to understand the depths of these things that we may think are simple, the depths of what kindness really is, the depths of what love really is. He's the one who gives us His Ruach, His Spirit, so that when we're in the midst of these situations with others, it is what reminds us, it is what empowers us to enact these principles, these values with others, to others, for others, thus producing healthier relationships, healthier dynamics, healthier perspectives of self, of the world, of people, of him. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I wish I could really fully explain, and I hope this does even a little bit of justice to explaining the freedom that I am finding in walking in his instructions. I am grateful for them. And I'm grateful for his son Yahusha. And I'm still learning even more about what Yahusha really did, so I can really understand and truly be grateful for what he's done and truly honor that. And in all of that, I'm grateful for his instructions, because now I feel empowered. I can go forth with this business opportunity. I can go forth not living in fear. Yes, I know the world is changing rapidly. Yes, I know prophecies are being fulfilled. Yes, I know the world might end tomorrow. But until the world ends, I'm going to continue living. And I'm going to continue living in his instructions. And I'm not going to continue living in anxiety and living in fear. I'm going to say, hey, I know what the Most High has said. He's given me these principles to walk by. So in the event that I do choose to go forth with this business opportunity, or I do choose to go forth with this creative opportunity, or I do choose to go forth with this relationship, I measure them against his instructions. If I go forth with this business, is it going to cause me to work on the Shabbat? I can't do it. Can I go forth with this business without working on the Shabbat? Yes. Okay, let's continue then. If I go forth with this business and I see an opportunity where I could make some money, but it might mean that I might be taking money from somebody else, or I may be lying to somebody else, or I may be taking money out of somebody else's pocket without them knowing. Am I going to do that? No. Because I'm doing this within the margin of the principles of Torah. And I don't say margin to mean like a box, because something a friend of mine once said is that God's instructions are not a box to live in. They're four corners. And oftentimes, when you're living in these instructions, you don't even notice the four corners. It's just like in any country that you live in, there are laws in that country. But you get up every day and you live and you go about and you meet friends and you go to work and you go to school and you do all these things, and you almost never give a second thought to the laws of that country until you run into specific scenarios that challenge the laws of that country. Ah, dang, my earring has it been like this whole time? I hope not. There are laws to live by in your country, but for the most part, you live within those laws without even having to think about them. How much more God's laws? Not even laws, how much more God's instructions, God's teachings that he wants you to live by? When we're walking in them, my father tells me, he says it's like this: when you're walking his instructions, you go on, you live, you pursue the things that are in your heart. You've been given gifts, utilize them. Make the album, make the songs, go make the business. But measure them against Torah. Keep that in the forefront of your mind to ensure that you're not going against Torah, to ensure that you're not going against his instructions. And there will be situations to test that. Situations will pop up in your relationships, in your business, that you will have to choose. Am I going to go left and move against Torah? Or am I going to go right and move for Torah? And in those scenarios, you choose Torah. You choose the Most High's instructions. You choose his will. And if you don't know his instructions, just go read them. And don't just read them, again, with the mindset of trying to know. Read them with the desire to understand. Because with the desire to understand, you then call on the Most High himself and say, please, Father, please, please, Yahusha, please help me to understand this in my heart. Because he says in the new covenant, I will write my instructions on their hearts, where it was in the beginning, in the garden, before man sinned and developed a heart that had an appetite for sin. I'm going to write my instructions on their hearts, not in their minds. Well, it says in their minds, I think, but not just in their knowledge, in their heads, but in their hearts, so that their very essence, their very lifestyle reflects the principles, the fruits of my teaching, of my instructions, of my character, of my love. So that's where I'm at right now, and I feel so liberated. I feel so free. I feel so free because so many things that I talk myself out of doing, I realize that I can go forth and do. So many things that I taught myself out of doing when I was leaning on my own understanding, trying to understand what God's perspective was. The whole time, it was so much simpler than that. I didn't need to lean on my own thoughts or my own perceptions or my own feelings. I could go in his word and say, what does his word say about this? His word says I should rest on the Shabbat so that I can refuel and so that I can recenter myself with him, so that I can rest from a week of work and be re-energized, so that I can refocus my heart, refocus my mind from all the information I took in this past week. His word says I should honor him with my first fruits. That means I give back to him the first of everything he's given me. His words say I should take care of the fatherless and the widow, the poor and the less fortunate. That means whatever he gives me, if he decides to prosper anything that I do, it's not just for me. It's for those around me. It's to benefit those who don't have as much. It's to benefit those who are in need. His word says to trust him. Not to trust in my own fears, not to trust in my anxieties, not to trust in my doubts, but to trust in him. I'm just so grateful, bro. I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful for even the journey to being here, because I've been in the mindset where I thought, oh, it was more harsh. It was more legalistic. I've been in the place where it was only my mind. I've been in the place where I thought Torah was heavy. I've been in all those places, and I'm so grateful for the whole journey. I've always said, man, and I've come to realize in this walk that you will be in valleys. You will experience valleys. But when you get back to the hilltop, you look back like I would absolutely go through whatever valley is to come, because I know that the hilltop that he brings you to will always be worth it. It makes everything make sense. And you realize that you could not be where you are now had you not gone through what you did then. It makes you realize that a hilltop does not exist without that valley. And there's no valley that exists without a hilltop that's waiting right after. So it's just a matter of trusting him in all of it at any point. When you're at the highs and things are going well and things feel synchronized and everything makes sense. When you're at the lows and everything is confusing and you don't understand how you got there. Or you know how you got there and you don't feel deserving of being pulled back up. Or you don't even want to be pulled back up. When you're that low, I've been there. Where you're just like, Father, just leave me here. Just leave me here. I'm done. I give up. And still, he pulls you up. Still, he brings you back. Still, he's there for you. So when you see his character exhibited, not only when you're doing what he wants you to do, or what he'd like you to do, not when you're being the obedient kid, not when you're doing the great things, but when you see his heart and his character, when you're doing the opposite, when you're being disobedient, when you're falling away, when you're backsliding, when you're being disrespectful, when you're not treating people in the way he's treated you, when you see how he deals with you in those times, you start to get a deeper understanding of what his love really is. You start to get an understanding that you were never worthy. Not when you were doing your best, and not when you're at your lowest. But he's decided to love you through it all. And that's why we give thanks. He's a God of understanding. He's a God of patience. He's a God that teaches. Not in the way man teaches, where they just instruct you and tell you what to do and expect you to do it right the first time and never make room for when you're going to feel doubts, or when you're not going to be feeling good, when you're going to be having a bad day, when you're going to have desire for the things that you know that are not good for you. No, he teaches in the way he does, where he's made room for all of that. When he decided to start this work in you, I imagine he knew everything that was going to happen. He knew that you'd backslide. He knew that this would be hard for you. He knew that you'd struggle in this area. He knew that this trauma would come up that you didn't even know existed. And he knows the depths of the things that you think are just on the surface. He's a God of understanding. Not just looking at us like robots. And definitely not a God that just wants us to do things just because he told us to. He wants us to understand because he is a God of understanding. And then even more, I believe, he wants us to then turn around and offer that same understanding, that same patience, that same love, that same long-suffering. And I know that's a sensitive word. For others. So, that's where I'm at right now. I've been talking for 30 minutes. Now I'm almost done with my fruit. And I pray, I hope that this would bring clarity for somebody. Because, and I hope if nothing else, that you would just lean into trusting him more. Pray and ask Abba, pray and ask Yah, just to help you to trust him more. Because I think in these times, that's what I know I need more than anything else. And I didn't realize how much of a challenge that was for me. Just to trust him. At all times, in everything, just to trust him. To trust that he loves me. To trust that he genuinely wants things that are good for me. To trust that he cares for the desires of my heart. Even the ones that may not be great. He cares enough and he understands enough that he's going to show me and teach me in a way that I will understand. And I know something I struggle with when I'm around people. I compare myself a lot subconsciously, especially my relationship with him. I compare my relationship with Yah to other people's relationships, and that makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. When people are telling me about the things that they're doing, I feel like I'm not doing enough. When people are telling me how they worship, I feel like I'm not doing enough. When people are telling me about how he's moving in their life, I feel like I must not be doing something right. Why he's not answering my prayers, why I'm not hearing him in this area. I compare. The whole time he's like, no, trust me. Don't trust in what I'm doing over there. Don't trust in their perception of me. Don't trust in what they say about me. Trust in me and what I've said. Let's go into my word and ask me to help you understand. You don't need a theologian. You don't need some side book to help you understand the scripture that somebody else wrote. You don't need somebody to explain this to you. Even though there are people he may send to help you, yeah. But trust him. He can open your mind. He can open your heart. He can open your eyes to see, to understand, to experience, to know him. He can empower you to go forth and live this out. To not just know it in your mind, to not just do it out of obligation, but to live it out and to enjoy it. My father told me once, and I keep coming back to this, if you're not enjoying walking in Torah, there's something you're not understanding, something that you're not grasping. And that's not to say life is a fairy tale, that everything is always great, that you won't face difficulties. Yes, you will. You absolutely will. In this world, you absolutely will. But that's what joy is. Happiness is the feeling of feeling good. Joy is peace in the midst of a storm. Happiness is a good day on the beach. Joy is feeling secure in the midst of a storm. That's what joy is. It's made evident when things are falling apart around you. That's what trust is. It's made evident when everything around you is uncertain. When everything around you is cloudy, when everything around you is foggy, this is what you have to hold on to. This is your anchor. When you're on that ship and the waves are tossing and the wind is blowing and the rain is beating, this is your anchor that keeps your ship there. Do you think that when Noah was on that ship, on that ark, that was a pleasant ride? Do you think he was just coasting on top of the water? The entire earth was flooding. Can you imagine how terrifying that must have been? Even though he was the one that God audibly spoke to. Even though God audibly spoke to him and told him, hey, prepare an ark and I will preserve your family. Do you think that in the midst of that storm when the entire world is being flooded, that wasn't scary? That they didn't feel like the ship might fall apart? that they couldn't see outside. All they could do was feel and hear and be tossed to and fro. You didn't think that was scary? But they had trust. I believe they had trust. You had to have had trust. That's the only thing that could have brought you through that, or maintained you in that. I wasn't there, but I would like to think that they also had joy. That even in the midst of that, they had joy, not in what they could do or their own strength, but in who they knew. I know the Most High. Even if I don't know him as well as other people may seem to, I'm seeking him. I'm engaging a relationship with him. And so despite all that I see around me, I know the Most High is with me. And that's what's going to keep me. So, yeah, man. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time.